We all know that Wall Street gets up to some pretty shady business. But what about other industries? A recent Reddit AMA asked people what dirty tricks were common in their industry. And commenters served up a filthy feast. From construction cons to salary scams, from food fraud to timeshare tricks. Here are some first-hand accounts of 22 dirty little industry secrets. But first, why don't you click subscribe and hit that notification bell while you're at it? Because if there's one company that's definitely not doing anything shady, it's here at Bestie. Alright, so without further ado, let's look at the 22 dirty little industry secrets. Number 1. Taking longer than needed. This Reddit user lets us know how asphalt and paving companies will cheat cities. In fact, if you've ever seen a road project that's taken way longer than it should have, user Lemurian Lumberlad tells you why. I worked very briefly at an asphalt paving company. It is apparently pretty standard practice for municipal construction projects, road building, bridges, highway repair, etc., to intentionally take a long time at the start of big projects. It works like this. It's the beginning of a construction season, and your company is dirt poor. Bid on a huge job that you don't have the materials for. When you put up the road under construction signage, you receive a percentage of the payment in advance of the actual work. Use that money to buy the materials for several smaller and high-profit jobs. A month later, you finally have enough money to buy the materials for the big government contract that you've supposedly been working on all along. This is why you'll often see road closures that seem to go on for way longer than makes sense. That's awful. No wonder roads take so freaking long to pave. Number 2. Trial candidates. This is a shady business tactic that's not only really lame, but it messes with people's lives too. This Reddit user named Cooper tells us what online retail companies might do to poor, unsuspecting IT guys. They say, "Not sure if this is an industry practice, but a very popular online retail company in my country has no in-house web designers or any other IT staff beyond your generic networking techs. Anytime their website or back-end systems need work, they simply advertise a permanent position and give the job of sorting out whatever they need doing as a trial for the candidate. Once completed, they then inform them that the position is no longer available and send them on their way. They've been doing this for years." Wow. Imagine you're going in for a job. You're finally excited to be doing what you love, and then they pull the rug right from under you. That sucks. Number 3. Phone networks. We've always had a sneaking suspicion that some phone networks were doing shady stuff. But now it's confirmed thanks to the Reddit user 2006 Diplomat. They relayed this story about phone networks and texting that you may find interesting. Texting service always requires no extra infrastructure on your phone or on the network. The size of the text message is limited by the amount of carrier signal that your phone sends out every few seconds to notify the tower where it is, what time it is, etc., so that the network can keep your call live. That you pay extra money for texting is pure profit for the phone company. They have never added any bandwidth for texting. It's always been there as the normal maintenance of the network. Number 4. Airlines. Apparently the airlines are trying to make us pay even more money while we're on the plane. Just listen to this story from a pilot that goes by the username Wings008. As a pilot, I discovered that some low-cost airline companies will set the humidity on the AC to a lower value than normal, to just the minimum legal value, to make you more thirsty and more likely to buy drinks or water at the absurdly high prices. Number 5. Escape room. As if escape rooms weren't frustrating enough, Reddit user Buffus tells us a story about how sometimes they'll rig the games. Remember when you played that escape the room game that one time and you got so close to escape, but just barely ran out of time? Yeah, virtually every team gets to that point. The game pacing and structure is almost certainly designed that way, unless you are playing one of the really competitive official franchise escape games. The problem is that the escape room players almost always report that they had positive experiences if they think that they just barely missed out on success, even if the game itself wasn't very good. So most companies, especially independent ones, require their in-room technicians to ensure that players reach a certain point in the game, either through hinting or suggestion, or sometimes even altering or removing puzzles altogether. An in-room technician who is good at their job will be able to help out in a way that makes it seem like it was the players who figured it all out, when in reality, they did virtually nothing. Unless you are a truly terrible team or really annoying and pushy, you are almost guaranteed to just barely miss out on escaping. I wouldn't say this is necessarily a bad thing, but after working in escape games for about 3 months, I realized how truly artificial the majority of the experience is. Number 6. Panera Bread. If you don't want this awesome restaurant ruined for you, then don't listen to this story from Cassini21, who used to work there. Just skip to the next point if you don't want to hear it. Is everyone gone? Alright, here we go. Ex-Panera Bread employee here. Everything is microwaved. All soups and pastas come in a frozen bag, reheated for customers. Pastries and bread come in half-baked. Bakers just slap on some frosting or fruit and heat it up. It's all fast food quality, but with a good reputation. Plus, it was terrible to work there. Really? Is that it? Honestly, I still might go. Number 7. Raccoon Removal. Ever gotten one of those pesky little rodents in your house? Well, Icarusau might have an explanation why. I know a guy who does pest control who specializes in raccoon removal. He takes the raccoon from one house in the neighborhood and then takes and releases it in another neighborhood and then waits for the people there to reach out to him to remove the raccoon from their home. Number 8. Raises. Here's a story from Moderate Extremist that teaches you that sometimes you have to use hardball tactics with your bosses. People lie about salary, starting pay, raises, etc. all the time. Learn to play hardball. My office had a lockdown on raises over 3%. And going into an annual review, I learned that my boss had lied and underpaid me for the starting position. He claimed they had a $60,000 budget for the position and could not exceed it. I found out that the last person in the job got paid $75,000. So I got an offer from a competitor for over double my current pay, knew they couldn't afford to lose me with the amount of work coming in, and slid my offer letter over to my boss during the review. They matched the offer, gave me a $10,000 bonus up front, and even cut me into a percentage of the business line. The meeting was awkward as hell, and it was difficult to do, but it's business. Number 9. Landscapers. This one is awful because it implies that they're taking advantage of a poor, sweet old woman. Just listen to this story from Reddit user My Muse Killed Itself. When my grandmother was in the hospital, her landscaper and handyman both contacted me to tell me she hadn't paid them and that they had been trying to reach her and on and on. I'd already paid both bills from her account, and when I questioned them, they remembered real quick. Number 10. France. Unfortunately, the country of romance isn't safe from shady business tactics. Just listen to this story from Control-Alt-Deltron 3030. In France, it's hard to fire or lay off people, so when big companies need to clean house a bit, they move the office to a new location, quite distant from the current one. In the process, they reduced the office size from 50,000 seats to 30,000 seats because they've estimated that amount of people will resign rather than endure a 4-hour commute. But officially, totally, you still have your job if you want. We're not laying you off, but I need you in the office every day. Or you could resign if you don't like the new location. Nestle did that, and apparently it's fairly common now for multinationals around Paris. Number 11. Severance. It seems that Canadians aren't as nice as they're made out to be, at least when it comes to firing people. Reddit user Mode1961 says it best. In Nova Scotia, Canada, severance pay is paid on the average of your last 30 days of pay. This means that some companies will actually reduce your hours to a minimum for your last month with them if they're going to lay you off. Happened to my wife. She worked for this company for 5 years, worked 35 plus hours per week. Suddenly, she wasn't getting shifts. Boom, layoff notice. Happened to other folks too. Number 12. Tracking. This story from Reddit user Fathqua seems pretty darn scary, especially if you're a paranoid person. When I was in the process of moving into my current home, I transferred the title of my old home and land to my sister because she was buying it and moving in when I left. Within the next few weeks, she started getting all the welcome to the neighborhood coupons and flyers. She didn't even change her address. So I assume companies track title changes with the Register of Deeds. The sketchiest was a pest control company claiming to have an existing account on the property and recommending she continue to use their services. The detailed dates and changes referenced termites. It was all lies. All the dates shown were while I owned the property, and I never even heard of this company before she received that letter. So it turns out that they are tracking your every move. Number 13. Sneaky bodega owner. This is an interesting yet very sneaky business tactic done. It's so interesting because it's not done by some giant corporation, but by some guy who owns a shop. We'll let Reddit user King Tycoon tell the story. An older fellow I know had a bodega, and he'd put a can of creamed corn on the corner by the register. This was some time ago, so the can had a price tag of 17 cents. He sold that can of creamed corn to everyone who bought anything there. If they realized that they were paying too much, he'd just say he thought it was their can of corn. Most people didn't notice though, and he sold that same can of creamed corn maybe 20 times a day. Number 14. Environment. This story from Too Much Prego is sad because your climate is really going down the toilet these days, and we should be doing everything we can to protect it. Apparently, most companies don't care all that much. Here's the story. Many companies claim to be environmentally friendly by putting made-up certifications on their products. Like a frog in a circle that says rainforest friendly, there are very few legitimate environmental certifications. It's called greenwashing. Number 15. Locksmiths. Jeez, there really are shady business tactics from every industry. Who knew that a locksmith could be rinsing you? Well, Reddit user Flaxmore certainly did, because he says, a locksmith I knew would rekey locks using old, worn-down pins, which caused the locks to stop working prematurely, without the pins being crisp. Eventually, the lock jams, or the key quits working. He would then await the inevitable call to replace them, rekey them with good pins, and be good to go. You could make an extra $65 per customer this way. We never did. I'm certified as a master locksmith in LA and ALOA, but we repaired a lot of locks this charlatan fixed. We complained to the NLA and ALOA and got his bond status revoked. Number 16. H&M. This tactic that was relayed to us by Reddit user Third Ambiguous Color doesn't seem too dirty, But we'll let you be the judge. When I worked at H&M, we used to do some sneaky stuff with setting up the mannequins or displays. Whenever we had a supply of shirts that were really ugly and weren't selling well, we'd put the ugly item on the mannequin, and it would sell out very quickly. This isn't necessarily the dirtiest trick, but it worked pretty well for pushing really ugly clothes. Number 17. Donating. It's nice to donate money to a good cause, but you should never be guilted into it. Reddit user Brucifer tells a tale of how one of their managers used to do that. I worked at a Caribou Coffee, and our manager insisted we guilt people into buying the pink Komen for the Cure coffee beans by suggesting that they didn't care about cancer victims. It was pretty distasteful. I saw him ask multiple people if anyone in their family had cancer. It was inappropriate on several levels. Number 18. Previous salaries. Make sure that when you're getting a job, you find out what the market value of that job is. Boilermaker 11 gives us a perfect example why. Using a previous salary against you, oh, you make $40,000? Well, we'll offer you $50,000. That's a 25% increase in pay. Your salary shouldn't be relative. It should be what the market value of the position is. If a job pays $75,000, don't pay me only $50,000 because I currently make $40,000. Number 19. Jiffy Lube. This story from JM Honeycutt 8 shines some light on the popular oil change shop. Half of the so-claimed services they offer at Jiffy Lube never get completed. The store hours distributed for employees are directly affected by average ticket sales, which means, at least when I was a store manager at one, that if we didn't have an average of $65 at the end of the day per car, then we got written up. Jiffy Lube is a dirty, evil company that takes advantage of people, and that's why I left to take a lower position elsewhere. Even though I made less money, I knew I wouldn't be selling people things they didn't need. Felt good quitting that place. Number 20. Insurance. This is actually an awesome tip from user Genghis Naps, and one you should really keep in mind for your next car accident. If you get into a car accident and your insurance tries telling you that you have to, or that you should take your car to a specific facility to get repaired, tell them to go blank themselves. You have no obligation to any insurance company or repair facility. You can take your car to any body shop you like to have the repairs done, and it's against the law for insurance companies to tell you that you can't. However, they often use tricky wording to make you feel like you have no say, especially if you're a woman. Number 21. Casinos. This story about casinos from Medic Mass is both shady and terrifying. Not in the casino industry, but I am in fire service, and we learn things like this. Casinos will pump an extra 1% of oxygen into the air to make you more alert and give you more energy, which allows you to stay there longer and spend more money. It's also the reason casino fires can be so catastrophic. Number 22. Trucking. Well, we'll end this list with a story from Annoying One, and trust us, if you like food, you won't want to hear it. I work in the trucking industry, and it's frightening how much food product is sold and resold after being rejected. Had a customer have a load of cheese refused because it was too warm, but took it back to another warehouse, cooled it down, and resold it to another customer. I've seen it done with cheese, juice, meat, and seafood. Awesome. Now we can never eat again. And that wraps it up. Did you learn anything about shady business tactics? Are you angry at all? Let us know how you feel in the comment section below. Enjoyed this video? Hit the like button and share with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.